We are recording. If you wouldn't mind, could you introduce yourself so that I don't uh, mess up the pronunciation on your name?
Sure, it's Eveline Buchatskiy, managing partner at One Way Ventures, a seed tech fund based in Boston for immigrant founders.
Terrific. And what is your background and the background of your co-founder?
Sure. So I've been in venture investments for the past about 8 years. I am originally an engineer, a chemical engineer. I worked as an engineer for about a decade, especially in control systems. Then I got my MBA, after which I went into startups, first as an operator, being CEO of a clean tech startup, and later as an investor with an accelerator. My co-founder is Semyon Dukach, who has an extensive angel investment background. He, prior to One Way Ventures, was a managing director for the Techstars Boston program. And before that, he was one of the most active angel investors in Eastern US with over 100 angel portfolio companies.
Mm-hmm. And so how does your background and your co-founder's background influence your investment strategy?
So Semyon and I have very complementary backgrounds. Semyon, as I mentioned, was a prolific investor. He has seen a lot of deals. He has worked in many finance rounds for different companies. So he understands founder dynamic, and he understands how to basically close a deal. I am more of an operator. I was CEO of multiple companies, including a startup, and I was also an operator in large companies. So we come into deal sourcing from really different perspectives. Semyon focused a lot on the founder, the team, the dynamics within the team. Obviously, I also prioritize the team a lot, and I look into that. But I also have an eye for how the business is running or how the founder is planning to manage the business. For example, one thing that I like to see is a draft of a financial model to see how the founder is planning to start and grow the business. I also focus a lot on building the KPIs for the company, and I discuss that with the founders when I am sourcing, just to get a feel for how they think about these things as they, start and grow the company. So it's a very interesting setup between myself and Semyon because we really come from completely different perspectives when we are engaging with the founders that we're looking at for investment consideration.
I see. And these are all early stage companies?
Yes, they are early stage companies. We typically invest from pre-seed to Series A. So that's the bulk of our portfolio so far and the bulk of what we plan to do for the next couple of years with One Way Ventures.
Right. And how do you source these companies? Where do you
Multiple
find them?
channels,
Mm-hmm.
yes, multiple channels. One channel is, one big category is warm introductions through many different ways. For example, we have together worked with many companies while at Techstars. Semyon and I together invested in 48 companies while at Techstars. Semyon has 130 companies in his angel portfolio. So founders in our Techstars portfolio and Semyon's angel portfolio, and also from my times in Ukraine running an accelerator, the founders that we worked with send us a lot of deals. That's one channel. Another channel is our investors. A lot of them are entrepreneurs themselves. They are very much plugged into the ecosystem, and they send us companies. Another channel is through Techstars. We do have access to the managing directors of multiple programs. We do mentor in some of these programs, so we get an early view into their cohorts. So that's another channel. Also, there is quite a bit of interest in our investment thesis. As I mentioned before, we invest in immigrant-founded companies, and the whole topic of how immigrants contribute to the economy across the globe is very hot right now. So we get a lot of solicitation for different interviews like this one and different media outlets, and that spreads the word. Our differentiation around the immigrant founder thesis helps us to get that kind of word spread. You know, it's very unusual to have a fund like ours. And we're very excited about conferences where we can talk about these investment theses. So we get invited quite a bit to go around the world into conferences and panels and podcasts and whatnot. And that generates deal flow as well. So that's some of the main channels that we use. And we have a very close relationship with MIT and Harvard. We source a lot from those two schools. They have a strong history of generating successful startups, especially MIT.
Yes.
So we keep a pulse. We go to demo days. We are mentors in their different initiatives. We give talks. We participate in some of the classes that are part of the entrepreneurship curriculum. So that's another channel.
And when you say immigrants, is that just any non-US based company, or are you more targeted in terms of the geography?
We are geography agnostic. We invest in immigrants from anywhere, and that's represented in our fund right now. We are a very new fund. We exist only for a year. We have 11 companies, yet already we have representation from 9 different countries. Now, the important thing to keep in mind is it's about a particular persona. So what we look for is a set of attributes that is typically associated with the immigration experience. So in a lot of cases, these people have been in the US for a while, and the company was born here. However, being immigrants themselves, they just have this set of attributes that we look for that correlate really well with success in entrepreneurship. The grit, the determination, the ability to cope with change, and ambiguity, and a number of other attributes that correlate really well with success as tech founders. And they have other attributes that we very much leverage. For example, these immigrant-founded companies typically are able to have a global view and source from the best places. When it comes to setting up R&D, for instance, they feel very comfortable in grabbing talent from their home country, which is usually at a fraction of the cost and at a much faster recruiting rate than they would get if they were to source talent in the US. So there are
Yes.
other logistics and advantages associated with focusing on this kind of team. It goes beyond just because they tend to have a winning personality. The do or die, the no safety net, I'm going to make it type of personality, but also because they can think like global entrepreneurs and set up their company in a way that takes advantage of resources in different places.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I imagine the majority of them are bilingual, which also allows them to manage teams internationally more easily.
Absolutely. That's exactly the case. They are not afraid of doing it. They think that way from start. They don't wait until they run into a recruiting issue before they actually think of setting up R&D in places that are easier and more cost effective. And they are also not afraid of setting up marketing sales in places where it makes sense to do biz dev, such as the US. So they think really globally.
Excellent. It's very that's clear. And changing gears a little bit, how have crowdfunding, the Jobs Act, um, the ability to raise money via initial coin offerings, ICOs, how has that changed the investment landscape, and has that affected how you do business as an investor in any way?
I think it's great that entrepreneurs have different options these days. There was quite a bit of excitement when those options were first launched, and a lot of hype and press around it. And it was good because it made people aware that they have different options. But I wouldn't say that it has changed the way we operate dramatically. I think for certain companies, they can take advantage of a combination of having a product launch at a crowdfunding platform, for example, to get the pulse from the market, sort of like it's a way of, in a way, doing customer development and
Mm-hmm.
understanding their willingness to pay and pricing. So it's almost like a marketing tool, if you
That's
will.
interesting. Yes, yes. I, I can
And
see it now that you point that out.
yes, and without just taking the plunge completely, you can use that, and you can learn along the way a lot, and at the same time work on a more traditional VC funding round. Uh, and VCs will look at the campaign as well for the same reasons. Did they get any traction? Was it well accepted? Did they know how to market that campaign well enough? Are they savvy? Some people are just incredible in how they conduct the marketing for those campaigns, and that's a talent that can be transferable to just regular marketing for their companies. So investors look at that when they are financing companies. So it's not like one excludes the other. It's more like they work in conjunction, and the startups can use crowdfunding platforms for like I said, marketing and understanding the customer and traction and pricing and whatnot.
Right, right.
Well, having said that,
Yes.
I do. I did invest in a company while at Techstars that lives almost exclusively out of crowdfunding. They have raised millions of dollars exclusively through crowdfunding campaigns, and they never really had to raise any money from VCs.
Was there something about that company that lent itself to crowdfunding more than another company might have been able to take advantage of?
Yes, I think first the product itself was a good fit for a crowdfunding campaign. It was low cost and it was kind of like catchy, kind of like one of those things that goes in waves. Um, so they were releasing different versions of the product through the campaigns. So yes, the product itself was a good fit
It was
for that
a
kind of.
B2C, a B to direct to consumer product,
Yes,
so
yes, it is.
more
It was.
easily understood.
Yes, very easily understood and easy to catch the attention of media. It was sort of like one of those like that make the Christmas list.
Uh-huh.
Uh, it's very catchy. It was basically a smart notepad that you could um, microwave and it would delete itself. Um,
How
yeah.
interesting.
So it's very easy to have a headline on such a product, and that's what they got a lot of press and people go to their campaign and they buy, and then they came up with another like cute feature that was also very catchy. So for that company, they did great using that channel, and also the team was a very creative team that enjoyed continuously doing this kind of marketing. So it's not for everybody, but they seem
Right,
to
right.
enjoy.
Hmm.
Yes,
Yeah, I would imagine that a talented creative marketing team could do that more successfully.
exactly. Yeah, and that was exactly the case. They were in Shark Tank. I mean, they knew how to really catch an audience.
Great. So I understand from your website that you're involved with a group called Immigrants Rising Entrepreneurship Fund. Uh, can you talk about
Well,
that?
yes, I have been in communication with them. I understood their mission in working with undocumented immigrants for whom really life is a bit tough.
To say
And
the least.
yes, and it's very interesting that such a group can help these people get into entrepreneurship and have a direct contribution to the US by innovating and creating jobs. So my contribution is just to basically spread the word because it is different from most from most things I've seen. Working with undocumented people is not easy.
Well, I'm sure not. I'm not for all sides of the equation.
For all sides of the equation, they obviously are scared to be known, to catch any attention because they are undocumented, and it's hard to reach them. So yeah, it's a challenge, and I admire the work that is being done.
Yeah. Okay, great. And again, changing gears, we talk about what kind of trends, both investment trends as well as technology trends that you see. Um, what's changing now? What do you expect in the next few years?
Okay, from a technology standpoint, our fund is tech agnostic. We invest in any technology. However, uh, without having a vertical focus, we still see that most of our portfolio is around AI and machine learning. It's just inevitable that that's going to be the case for most investments from now on, because it's technology that will be ubiquitous in many sectors, many ways. So it's just a fact that's going to be big. I don't know if you noticed the news yesterday about MIT creating a $1 billion college
For
exclusively for,
AI?
yeah.
Yes, that's that's big. That's big news. Yes.
Yes, and we are fortunate to be based in Boston. Obviously, we plan to benefit from that quite a bit. The
Yes.
talent that's going to be created from that. So that's what I would say is more obvious to us, and everything that's associated with that, the robotics, the data science, the IoT, everything that rides in that wave will be big. Well, it is already big, and it's just going to grow and grow. From an investment standpoint, I see a very positive um, trend around decentralizing entrepreneurship. Silicon Valley is still very important, of course, and we will always be, but it's no longer a monopoly for capital and talent. It is really spreading. So even within the US, you have uh, hubs that are really becoming very interesting, such as LA. Boston has been a hub for a while. New
Sure.
York has grown tremendously in the last decade. It's almost unrecognizable. Uh, if you take just the point A and B 10 years ago and now, it's almost like another town altogether when it comes to entrepreneurship. Um, and other hubs like Chicago is coming up a little bit too. So you see that decentralization within the US, but most important across the globe. So Berlin, London becoming very relevant. So the entrepreneurs of 5, 10 years from now will really think globally in the sense that